On her third and final errand stop of the morning, Madison was loading her few groceries into the van when she heard the thunder of a motorcycle long before she saw it. The black and chrome Harley that pulled off the roadway and cruised into the lot was beautiful. Madison watched as the rider parked it in the slot next to her van. The rider turned off the metal beast and set the kickstand. As he pulled the helmet up off of his head, Madison recognized him. Trigger Daniels from the Black Mountain Bikers Club. He was more beautiful than the motorcycle he was riding, with his black wavy hair falling into his shoulders. In the sunlight, his hair had a deep blue cast. Forcing herself to keep her composure and not show that she was actually ogling him, Madison reached for the handles on another reusable grocery bag and tugged. Why had she packed them so heavy? Because she'd been in a hurry to get back home and work on her sculpture. As she hefted the bag with both hands, the worn handles broke free of their fabric and cans of soup and vegetables spewed into the cart and onto the pavement, where they rolled scattershot in every direction. "Whoa, you can stop the barrage, the war's over," Trigger laughed and stepped off his ride. "I'm sorry, my bag." She grinned and shrugged, standing there stupidly as Trigger bent to gather up stray cans. "Where do you want these?" He was holding 6 cans out to her. Here, just stick 'em in here." She held out the bag with the broken handles, and he put the cans in, his hand brushing hers lightly on the exit. He bent to pick up more cans. Madison kicked her brain into gear and bent to help. Twice they bumped arms, putting cans in the defunct bag. Both times they made eye contact and laughed easily, as if they'd been friends for a long time. Lifting the bag easily, Trigger stood slowly and placed it in the van between the other bags to hold it securely. He turned to Madison, flashing that superstar smile of his, making her heart jump into her throat and her palms sweat. "There you go. They should be good till you get home. I wouldn't recommend hitting the brakes too hard, though." He laughed again. "Thank you, I won't. I'll try not to, anyway." Madison moved to shut the doors. "Are you an artist of some kind?" Trigger was standing so close that his body heat touched Madison's back, and his voice was right in her ear. Stunned by his sudden closeness, she went still and stammered. His right arm appeared to be over her shoulder, and he pointed at the art supplies. The tribal tattoo of a winged serpent wound from his wrist upward and disappeared under the rolled-up sleeve of his flannel shirt. Madison chuckled nervously. "Yeah, I sculpt, but it's no big deal. You know, a hobby." She pushed the door shut. When she turned, he hadn't moved very far away. The invasion of her personal space wasn't as unpleasant as she'd thought while turned in the other direction. In fact, she didn't mind that he'd invaded her personal space. He smelled sexy, and the way the sun glinted off his hair and made his dark green eyes seem like jade was breathtaking. She had the sudden urge to hug him just to get her hands on him and press her body to his. Instead, she leaned against the closed door of the van and smiled up at him. "When someone says something isn't a big deal, it most assuredly is a big deal, especially if that person is a woman." He winked at her and backed up a step. That was a really sexist thing to say. Instantly offended, she sidestepped him and held out her hand for him to shake. He took her hand in a firm, warm, strong grip. "Are you offended? I didn't mean it to be sexist. That's just always been my experience." He shook her hand and shrugged. "Hey, if you say it's no big deal, then it's no big deal, I guess." "Thanks for helping me with the cans." "You're welcome." Determined to be upset with his remark, Madison pushed the cart to the return corral and then got in her van. Before she could pull the door shut, Trigger stepped up and took hold of it. Startled, she jumped and squealed. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. There was a can of green beans in front of your tire." His green eyes were laughing, though his expression was straight as he handed her the can through the gap. Unnerved, she said, "Thanks again," and tossed the can into the passenger seat. Trigger pushed the door closed and stood staring at her as if he had something more to say.